Alright guys, so today I want to do something a little bit different with this guide. So instead of giving you a new build for a specific Descendant, I actually wanted to talk to you about a slept-on component set that you can slot onto a ton of different Descendants. Now with the current level of challenge in the game, most content doesn't actually need you to have an insanely high DPS build. While sacrificing damage doesn't sound like it will speed up your ability to clear maps, it actually can in some situations. And using this component set on certain Descendants will allow you to use their ultimates more frequently, which will improve your kill times. So if you haven't guessed which component set I'm talking about by now, let me let you in on a little secret. We are talking about the Brave set. So you might be asking yourself, why would I use the Brave set? What does it even do? It's not a set that I see on a lot of builds. Well, let me tell you exactly what it does do. If you have a 4-piece set on, there is a 20% chance to reduce a random skill's cooldown by 1 second each time an enemy is defeated. This does allow you to break the 90% cooldown reduction that you can typically get. So you can actually get your skills on a 100% uptime by using this set. Outside of that, it does reduce the cost of the skills, which makes it even easier for you to spam some of those higher cost skills. So now you might be asking yourself, why would I even do this? I already have a lot of builds pre-set up. They do a ton of damage and I'm already clearing content faster than I need to. At the end of the day, this is a very minor change to quite a few builds. And this change will enable you to use different parts of your kit a lot more frequently. And that level of dynamic play will make the game feel a little bit more fun, while also making you that much more devastating by being able to use your harder hitting skills more frequently. So the content that you're going to use this most frequently in is going to be things like Sigma Sector, 400s, Spec Ops, and other medial type content that isn't challenging in and of itself. That's not to say that you cannot use the Brave set on certain builds in something like Void Erosion Purge, but you will need to be a little bit more mindful of what you're changing when it comes to that harder content. Long story short, this will work on about 90% of the current content in the game without really having to make much of a change to your build. Now we've looked at this on quite a few Descendants on stream, and I'm going to give you a good idea of the Descendants that benefit the most from this change. Basically all of your Electric Descendants will benefit from this change. Most Electric Descendants are still using the Slayer set. And that's because when the new component sets came out, there wasn't really any good electric sets for them to use. Descendants like Ultimate Bunny and Inez really shine when you swap their Slayer sets out for the Brave set. If you're running an Energy Condensed Bunny, you will be able to use your EC more often. And one of the biggest issues for EC Bunny is the fact that her electric condense is on cooldown quite frequently. And it makes it to where you can't do as much spike damage to those yellow bars as often as you would like. Well, swapping out to the Brave set does kind of fix that. And with somebody like Inez, you can use her 4 more frequently. Even Descendants like Valby can really benefit from this. Something like Bubble Bullet, when you have her fully built, has about a 2-second cooldown. But if you sacrifice the Mage set and run the Brave set, you will have a 0-second cooldown on your Bubble Bullet. And while you are losing a lot of damage by dropping the Mage set, having a 0-second cooldown on your Bubble Bullet does increase your DPS by quite a bit. On top of that, your Plop Plop, which is something that you use quite a bit in a Bubble Bullet build, will also be off of cooldown all of the time. Freyna is another Descendant who benefits very well from the Brave set. You do have to keep in mind that you have to get the kills, so if you are running with a lot of different Descendants and you are not getting the kills, you will not get the benefit of the Brave set. And given the fact that I run a high cooldown, long duration build on my Freyna, the Brave set does help mitigate those long times and keeps my skills up. That way when I go from room to room, I do continue to have them. I don't want to go through every Descendant in the game, but even somebody like Viessa can benefit from this set. This will give you a lot of uptime on her 3 and a lot of uptime on her 4. Basically, any Descendant that has hard-hitting skills with very long cooldowns will benefit quite a bit from the Brave set in your normal day-to-day average content. Now, I know I just hyped up the Brave set, and I do think the Brave set is really good, and it's something we've been dropping in on a lot of our different Descendants. But you do need to pay attention to what is happening to your character when you do swap off your components. If you were somebody that build crafts your own builds, then you're going to know exactly what I'm getting ready to talk about. But if you don't and you pull your builds offline, you need to be careful that you don't mess up your damage buckets. If you don't know what damage buckets are, I'll go ahead and put a link to a video down below. In general, most players optimize their damage buckets to maximize their damage output. And in doing that, sometimes your components are factored in. So if you are taking a bunch of one type of damage bonus off of your components, it might actually hurt you in the long run. So just ensure that if you are taking components off, you are paying attention to your damage buckets, and if they are completely scuffed, you might need to just make 1 or 2 mod changes to enable you to use the Brave components. Now, since we are talking about the Brave components, we do need to touch on the new component cores. Right now, unless you have some sort of hyper-specific build, most people are just going to put max HP on all 4 of their components. And in doing this, it actually enables you to take off any HP mods that you have on most of your builds. In anything outside of Void Erosion Purge, having all this additional HP isn't really going to net you anything, but removing it for either a quality of life mod or additional damage is always a smart play. So let's be honest, when was the last time you actually died in Sigma Sector or a 400? And even if you do die, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So you might as well stack on some damage or some additional quality of life and really make those builds sing. Now, I'm not going to go over every mod you could put on for every build because that would just be too time consuming. But just keep in mind that when you move the HP mod off, you do have the option to toss on something like Spear and Shield, which is going to give you roughly 10% more skill power, or you could look at a Fortitude mod, which will typically give you around 10% more attribute damage. Even outside of those, you can look at adding additional range, duration, MP cost reduction, or a handful of gold mods that will increase your damage that you had to leave off because you just didn't have enough mod slots. Consider making some of these small tweaks just to make the builds a little bit more your own and fill in the gaps that you have noticed when you played these builds. Alright guys, and that's it. That's everything you need to know about the new Brave set. I call it the new Brave set, but really it's been out for a long time, but it's a set that a lot of people have been sleeping on. I wanted to make sure I explained what the Brave set does, what are some of the benefits for the Brave set, and what type of descendants are actually going to benefit from you swapping out the Brave set. Now, this is something we've been looking at for quite a few days on the stream, and a lot of our community has been swapping out to the Brave set and have really been finding a good amount of success with it and have just been enjoying the playstyle that it's enabling them to do finally. Now, you don't need to make a lot of changes to your builds to use the Brave set, but there are some builds that will require a little bit of tweaking. But right now, with not a lot to do in the current season of First Descendant, this is a great time to really get out there and explore your builds and try to find a way to make them your own and to really understand how Descendants work. But having said all that, guys, if you enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant content as well as other content in the future. We do stream here on YouTube as well as Twitch 4 to 5 days a week. We play First Descendant as well as a ton of other games. We have a lot of YouTube shorts. We put a lot of content out for you guys to consume. And if you're looking for content, this is a great place to be. So I did mention Twitch. Twitch is actually a great place to catch us live. YouTube live stream does a good job, but the chat is not quite as good as Twitch. So consider coming over and watching us there 4 to 5 days a week, as I said before. But as always, guys, thanks for watching and have a great day.